I wonder how COVID-19 affected our energy usage at home and at work, and how we can use energy a bit more efficiently in these really tough times.
I wonder how COVID has impacted energy usage in the country my grandparents live in.
I wonder how people's political beliefs correlate with their climate change beliefs.
I wonder how the lockdown has impacted mobility.
Due to the lockdown, have you wondered how much extra household energy consumed since the pandemic hit? I wonder.
When I visualized energy usage data from April of 2019 and April of 2020, among the many interesting things that I found, the major thing was really the level of organization, essentially how organized 2019 was compared to 2020, and the level of entropy, which is the level of predictability in something that occurs over time. So in 2020, organization was completely void, and you could never tell what would happen, or you could never predict what would happen day after day. Peaks were all over the place. And in 2019, organization was really, really present, and every day we followed a strict pattern of having a peak in the morning and one in the evening. And this seemed to be present throughout the week.
I've always been interested in how climate change is portrayed as a partisan issue, especially in the US, despite the fact that climate change has or will affect everyone regardless of political party. So that led me to my question. How closely are climate change beliefs and political beliefs correlated?
After learning about how COVID had impacted US household energy usage, I was curious to see how people were impacted globally. That was when I decided to look at India's average energy usage data.
I observed the relationship between mobility and the lockdown stages. Based on my observation, I've arrived at a conclusion that there's a positive relationship between mobility and lockdown stages.
My curiosity drives me to seek for the answer. Thanks to my work at DYEL project about a year ago, I have been exposed to a new dimension of what energy and energy science are all about. Not only do I learn and develop new skills to collect and analyze valuable data. As a team, we share ideas and comment regularly via Zoom on how we can improve our work.
I think the main takeaway from my visualization was that 2020 had a lot higher energy usage when compared to 2019. Not only was the organization in 2020 a lot lower than 2019, but yeah, the energy usage was a lot higher. And 2020, I think the main thing that it showed us was how shelter in place can affect our daily energy usage patterns, and how we can really change our energy usage numbers when everyone is at home. For me, visualizing these numbers helped me find ways to reduce my energy bill, even when everyone was at home and shelter in place was at large. Visualized here are the Aprils of 2019 and 2020. On the left side is the entire month of April, each day's total usage, and on the right side are all the Tuesdays visualized hourly. On the left side, on 2020, there is a very clear rise in how much energy that is being used in the entire month of April every single day. And 2019 is much, much lower. In 2019 Tuesdays, you can see a clear pattern in dual peaks, the one in the evening and the morning, whereas in 2020, all the Tuesdays have no order whatsoever, with peaks appearing in the randomest places.
There are many exciting things that I've learned from my data visualization, but one of the coolest things is that there's a connection between the impacts of COVID in US daily household usage to average India energy consumption. Now, although this may not seem super significant, it's really awesome to be able to see connections between my daily life and the life of my grandparents who are living in India right now.
I have visualized data from the average energy usage in India over the past 3 years. The yellow represents data from 2018, the purple represents data from 2019, and the pink represents data from 2020. As you can see, there seems to be a general upward trend, and then it falls around December. It picks up again around April when cases spiked in India, but you can see the increase in this graph is not nearly as much as the increase was in the 2019 and the 2018 graph.
The most interesting thing that I've learned through my research is the prevalence of these beliefs which doubt what scientists are saying. For example, states that had people with higher climate change beliefs on average often had higher shelter-in-place restrictions, and vice versa. People with lower climate change beliefs lived in states that had lower shelter-in-place restrictions. And we've seen this before with the prevalence of the anti-vaccine movement and the COVID-19 denial movement. The map on the left shows the percent of adults who voted for the Democratic Party in the 2020 election, and the map on the right shows the percent of adults who believe that the president should do more about climate change, according to data from Yale Climate Communications from 2019. So physically, we can see that there are a lot of similarities. It's lighter here, and it gets a little bit darker near the coast and down south. And we can even zoom up on a state here like California, and we can see that there's a lot of similarities here where it gets lighter up top and it's darker around the coast and down South California. And there's a similar trend for Texas where it's lighter at the top and darker near the south. So this entire map, the correlations between them is 0.723. Considering that the highest possible correlation is 1, this is pretty significant. So that kind of answers the question. Climate change beliefs do influence voting behavior according to this data.
Before I share with you the result, take a guess how much of a change in percentage to my family's energy consumption pre and during COVID. 100% or 300%? Based on the data from Joymeter to capture family activities and energy consumption data from PG&E, the result is 300% increase. Alarming, isn't it? I have never expected almost triple the usage, but I would not be too surprised. Similar results may likely happen with other families, since we spend most of our time at home during the lockdown. Here's a closer look at my findings on household energy consumption based on collection of my family's energy usage data pre and during COVID. The blue line here is the energy usage for April 2019, and the orange line here is usage for April 2020. With this line graph, you can clearly see the average energy usage around 4 to 5 mark pre-COVID, compared to a hit at an average 9 to 10 mark in 2020 during COVID, almost double the usage. You will also be noticed that 2019 line is rather flat, which indicates daily energy consumption is quite stable, whereas no specific pattern to 2020 line during lockdown. Just a note to take, there's a spike on April 14, 2020, which was my birthday with a celebration at home.
I learned that there's a pattern in mobility, and that the pattern occurs every week, and that the magnitude of the dips and the peaks depend on the strictness of the lockdown stage. Before COVID-19, which is when it's 0, you can see that the graph is fairly stable and that there isn't a pattern. But once there's a lockdown which happens during COVID, you can see that there's a pattern in workplaces and parks. And you can see that the pattern, the dips and the peaks of the pattern depend on the lockdown stage.
As I mentioned before, the prevalence of these movements, which actively doubt what scientists are saying, have real consequences, especially for younger generations. And it's really important that we take steps to reduce this kind of misinformation in the future. Especially with the advent of the internet, misinformation can be spread like that, and it's really important that we take steps to reduce it. Personally, I want to create more data visualizations that kind of expose this misinformation and encourage people to listen to what scientists are saying. I also want to focus my efforts to schools and climate education so that students can make better decisions according to what scientists are saying.
I hope to apply my knowledge of data in the real world because it allows me to make better and smarter decisions.
I think that in the future, I would like to make more visualizations of countries' energy usages. If we can make connections between countries, then we can work as a global community to decrease overall energy usage.
So, what are the key takeaways from my work at DYEL? First, a deeper understanding of energy conservation. It's about what me and my family can do to go for the extra mile with green living, and how I can play a role in saving the planet Earth. Second, before joining DYEL, I know very little about data science, nor what it has to do with my daily life. But now, I start to see the significance of data science and how a bunch of numbers, data, graphs, and visual images bring upon useful information for research and studies. Also, practical skills that I learned such as Tableau for data analyzation and visualization are very useful to prepare for schoolwork. Last but not least, the teamwork and friendship that we have built over the years is a wonderful experience.